studios in New York City. This is Charlie Rose.
Brad Pitt is here in 1991. He gained widespread attention as the swindling drifter J.D. in Thelma and Louise. Since then, his focus on diverse characters and his tendency to seek interesting projects has made him one of Hollywood's most interesting actors. Here is a look at some of his work.
Ladies, gentlemen, let's see who wins the prize for keeping their cool. Simon says, everybody down on the floor. You, sir. Yeah, you do the honors. Take that cash, you put it in that bag right there. You got an amazing story to tell your friends. If not, well, you got a tag on your toe. You decide.
Well, I didn't get in at all, but I was here.
Neil, Paul, Neil.
Neil, Montana, there are three things we're never late for. Church, work, and fishing.
We all loved Samuel. Samuel is dead. What?
How convenient that is for you.
Because you love her, I will forgive you for that. Once. You say that again, and we are not brothers. When a person is insane, as you clearly are, do you know that you're insane? Maybe you're just sitting around reading Guns and Ammo, masturbating in your own feces. Do you just stop and go, wow, it is amazing how crazy I really am? Very few of us here are actually mentally ill. I'm not saying you're not mentally ill. For all I know, you're crazy as a loon. But that's not why you're here. That's not why you're here. It's not why you're here. You're here because of the system.
I have to stay here, Henrik. Serving others is my path to liberation.
And I don't go either.
Why not?
Because you are my path to liberation. This is a chemical burn.
It'll hurt more than you've ever been burned, and you will have a scar.
What are you doing?
Guided meditation worked for cancer. It could work for this.
Stay with the pain. Don't shut this out.
No, God!
Look at your hand. The first soap was made from the ashes of heroes, like the first monkey shot into space. Without pain, without sacrifice, we would have nothing.
Try to save your breath and cure your parts. Hey, look, she wants a heck of 2 roof lights. The stylus house frame furniture, and the scar cushions with mats and shag by cover. Yeah. Right. It's a terrible partial to the Periwinkle Blue bags. Have I made myself clear, bags?
He went to the Russians a week ago and said he had a contact, an American, somebody he could use.
Don't tell me that! Don't tell me that! You didn't look in his eyes! Don't tell me that!
He was your asset, somebody you use for information.
Oh, Jesus Christ! You don't just trade these people like the baseball cards. It's not a game.
Oh, yes, it is.
Don't shift your weight. Look always at your mark, but don't stare. Be specific, but not memorable. Be funny, but don't make him laugh. He's got to like you and then forget you the moment you've left his sight. And for God's sake, whatever you do, don't, under any circumstance.
Russ.
Yeah.
Can you take a look at this?
Sure.
This month, he takes the lead in Troy, based on Homer's The Iliad. Here is the trailer for the film.
I've fought many wars in my time. Some are fought for land, some for power, some for glory. I suppose fighting for love makes more sense than all the rest. Do you love her?
Father, you are a great king because you love all of Troy. That is the way I love Helen.
I want her back. Will you go to war with me, brother?
They're coming for me. The wind is bringing them closer.
This will be the greatest war the world has ever seen. We need the greatest warrior.
Achilles can't be controlled.
Be careful, King of Kings. First, you need the victory.
I won't ask you to fight my war. You already have. The loser will burn before nightfall.
Immortality! Take it! It's yours!
No son of Troy will ever submit to a foreign ruler.
Then every son of Troy shall die.
Now you know who you're fighting.
no one else? Is there no one else?
I am pleased to welcome Brad Pitt to this table for the first time.
Thank you, Charlie.
Great to see you.
Yeah, great
My
being
pleasure.
here. Yeah.
Tell me about Achilles and why this was an interesting character to play.
Well, it's it's one of the great iconic characters of history, of course, or certainly literature, classic literature. There was a lot there. There was a lot to go after: the physical demands, the research, the personalization of the character. He himself is, as Homer shapes him, we never quite know where he is until the end, because he does this really interesting thing of where you believe you know who Achilles is. He's this vain guy searching for glory. He'll then he'll take you back in time to a scene when he was very benevolent and giving, and so his character is constantly unfolding. The second thing he does, which I was really taken with, is that character is forged by experience and by his responses to experience, which are often very extreme, and sometimes despicably extreme.
Yeah.
But this I understand more than adopting a dogma or a belief system, that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to be a bastard at times if you can right that wrong, if you can learn from it and take it. In fact, it's very important.
Yeah. There's a great scene you're referring to with the mother. I think that's when, I mean, you see
right.
early on the sense of...
Julie Christie.
Exactly. If you could choose a mother, that's a great mother.
Yeah.
There's a great scene, and you get a sense of the ambition that drives him to want to be historical, to want to have that kind of... He knows he's a great warrior.
Right.
And on the other hand, there's this urging to do something else. He's pulled by. But you know, in the end, between the choice between sort of retiring into what would be a wonderful life versus the chance to be a historical character, he can't resist.
To leave a mark, he can't resist, and that is, I mean, if I were to contemporize it, it would, you can certainly make parallels to Fame, but that to me signifies more a running from death, a running from oblivion, this idea to leave a monument. Even though you're not going to be able to enjoy it. What does it mean to you?
Exactly,
You're done.
Exactly.
But this push that for some kind of meaning, some kind of purpose, they would write about how he wanted to surpass all men. He wanted to surpass the limits of mortality, and this is this thing that he was hungering for. And in the end, it became something very simple for him. Certainly in the Iliad, as Homer constructs. Where it's just an acceptance of his own humanity and the idea that we're all after the same thing, really.
People are making a big deal about this notion. One, you were reluctant, they had to talk you into taking this, number one.
To some degree.
Some degree.
Right.
You like the character, so...
Yeah, very much. And you know, I get in my way a lot. And it just seemed too obvious. For a minute there.
It was the right moment for you to play that kind of role.
Well, it was. I sat the bench for a couple of years. I hadn't done anything, so I was anxious to take something on that would be a little more difficult. We get to throw everything in, and this one opened that up.
What's the physical challenge?
Well, the physical challenge is, you know, there's a current movement for it's kind of the MTV cutting style where things are getting faster, harder, slash, boom, insert, 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 and Wolfgang Peterson and Simon Crane, who Simon comes from Braveheart and Saving Private Ryan. I mean, he's top of the game. We're really adamant about us learning the fights and doing them ourselves, so we could pull the camera back and you could see it unfold. You could see the strategy. You could see that's, you know, you're going for a kill shot every time. There's nothing superfluous.
You especially see
Van
that
Damme about it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's you're going for a kill shot, and you understand the chess more of the fight. And this one, by the time we get to the Achilles Hector fight, which to me is it's something, I think it's one of the great showdowns, and it unfolds slowly, and it's almost balletic until, of course, you almost forget that someone's got to go.
What's terrific about this movie also is it's the historical notion coming from the Iliad and others. It is the characters that surround you.
Yeah.
Peter O'Toole.
Eric Bana. Brendan Gleeson, Brian Cox, Sean Bean, Rose Byrne, Orlando Bloom, Diane Kruger, on we go.
Julie Christie.
And Julie Christie. I was afraid we were going to have a little Oedipus subplot. I was going to read through there or something. She's, to me, just the pinnacle of the, the late 60s, early 70s. She's the bar.
Yeah. Take a look at this. This is King Agamemnon, Brian Cox plays, discussing the siege of Troy with Achilles. And you got to understand that what is here is this notion of the warrior, yet there is conflict between the two of them because Achilles does not have a lot of respect for the king or suggests he has different motives. Here it is. It's a classic leading man, warrior, leading man.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good movie stuff, yeah.
But they have been wanting you to do this for a while. Did you just look for the right role, or you've been building to it, or you needed to do this other thing because you knew you could come to this at a certain moment in your life?
I think it's more that. I think I really didn't understand what I had to offer more than what anyone else could do. It seemed to me we were all kind of doing the same version, and I needed to, I guess, work some things out for myself. Plus, I come from the school, when I started, I come from the school of Mickey Rourke, Sean Penn. These guys were, these were the guys that flipped me out. These were and the 70s films, of course. So,
and especially Sean in terms of doing character roles that were
absolutely.
powerful.
So this became my drive, this became my interest, and I wanted to see, how I stood up, what I could find. That was original, there was a reason for me being there.
Does it have something to be that this is the right time in terms of age? I mean, you've done these other things.
Possibly. I mean, certainly the
You just
impending
turned
midlife
40,
crisis.
as we all know.
Yeah, it was a good
Not
motivator.
crisis, but
you always hear it's coming, so I wanted to see how far I could take it, if I really did it proper, and it too. I've done a few films now, so it's time to up the ante. It's time to take it further or get out, I felt.
Did this in any way invigorate a sense of wanting to act more? I mean, you've got 3 films coming out.
No, it still felt the same. I just felt I graduated again in a way.
Yeah.
But still went about it the same, and still tormented through it, and still would like to change a few things on the way out.
What do you mean by that, change a few things?
Well, there's always a couple, that you want to.
Well, as we were sitting through the composite, you said, I chunked that one.
Yeah, I chunked
what does
that
scene.
Mean? It means I chunked that scene. I blew
chunked
that
it means
scene.
that you blew it, or?
Yeah, I fluffed it. Meaning, it could be better. I would love another shot at it.
Yeah.
We, you and I are both architect junkies, and I remember when not Disney Hall, when Bilbao in Spain opened up. I went to go see it. I stood across the water, and you see just laid out the Guggenheim there by Frank Gehry, and I got shivers. It was the sexiest thing I've ever seen. Cut to, I go home, and I see Frank, and he's standing on the same spot. It's a television program, and they're asking him about it. And he is standing there, and he's telling the story of how, standing on that spot, he looked and saw, and all I could see was what he wanted to change, and how he blew it for the clients, and oh my God, what had he done? So I think there's some kind of I think that fire is what pushes you, propels you to the next in some degree. So I don't take it so seriously, but
you also had to buff your. I mean, you really had to go through a certain kind of denial.
Yeah.
To get ready for this.
The body's an amazing machine. It is an amazing machine. If you tell it it needs to perform in these areas, and you feed it the proper fuel, and it needs to acclimate, it will acclimate. It will get to the point where you injure it, you rip it, and it will repair itself stronger because you're telling it needs to be able to carry this kind of weight.
Just take a look at this, and we'll explain it afterwards. Here it is.
I thought it was you I was fighting yesterday, and I wish it had been you.
Tell me a little bit about shooting that, I mean, from the cinematographer's standpoint, what it was that you coming to that scene.
Well, we had rehearsed that for months and months and months.
And it was shot late.
It was shot at the end.
In
fact, we only had that fight scene to shoot left. We had 5 days left, and in one weekend, a hurricane came in, wiped out the wall of Troy, which is about the size of half a stadium, football stadium. And then also, I tweaked my tendon, so so we were shut down.
This is when you were down in Baja in California.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
In Mexico.
That's right.
Yeah. And how many times you shot at the end? And then you had to take 3 months off after you.
We'd take or 2.5 months off it was, and then we came back and shot that. What you just saw, the fight. Actually, the dialogue was done right before the hurricane hit, and we had to come back.
Yeah. The idea of the performance here. How much did you get from from some kind of exchange with Peter and Brian Cox and
all of it, and we certainly will get to Peter after this.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's all about vengeance. You know, we're dealing with Achilles' heel, which is the metaphor for that weakness, which is actually becomes the strength. It's really, we're talking about we're talking about the heart, I dare say.
Yeah.
And here at this point, he has Homer talked about when I blindly set myself against another, you, when I draw this line, that it actually becomes evil when I blindly set myself against. And at this point here, we wanted to see the vengeance. You know, at this point we're dealing strictly with vengeance, and we as Americans, I think, are really steeped in the vengeance tale. We probably take it too far. I don't know it's so healthy. And at this point, that's what we're dealing with. But we take it. I wanted to see rage to the point of insanity, because in the Iliad there's a great line where he talks about that he wishes Troy an evil death. He doesn't just say death. He strictly says an evil death. That's very telling, I think.
And this is where you see the rage in what he does with Hector's body.
Right.
After the death. That shows you the extension of the rage.
Right, which still doesn't help him at all.
And the vengeance.
And so, of course, what we're
building... The vengeance of his cousin.
What we're building to, yes, the vengeance of his cousin. Or cousin in our... Right. He was a friend in the Iliad.
Right.
And, of course, what we're building to is the point where an enemy sit down when Priam comes to him and asks for the big favor.
Set this up. We're going to see that now.
Okay.
This is my favorite moment in the film, and I think you've said that it's one of your favorite moments.
Yeah, it is for several reasons. It's one of the greatest moments I've ever read, and it works in the script. To David Benioff's credit, and I get to take a shot at this with Peter O'Toole. It's very special to me just to have that opportunity. I was really savoring that. And here at this point, of course, Peter O'Toole being playing King Priam, father of Hector, is coming to ask for a favor after I've done something completely despicable.
We're not saying this simply in the interest of the film. But he's coming to ask something because out of the humanity of the king.
That's right.
And to pay respects to his son.
And at that point, Achilles is completely walled off. He's impenetrable. He's invulnerable.
Because he too is experiencing enormous pain from a loss.
He is suffering loss, and the vengeance hasn't licked it, and this is where we are. Priam comes in, and it's a scene constructed to disarm him, dismantle his ego in a way. It completely disarms him by the end of it. And it doesn't come at Achilles with force, which is what he understands. It comes at him with the weapons of peace, which are words. And through that, this line that separates you and I, or side versus side, my side, your side, Achilles, Priam, gets erased. And he witnesses almost his own reflection. And they form this kinship of suffering. They both have lost what they loved. And from there, it's a real turning point in our film. And it's a turning point in the vengeance tale. It takes it a step further, and it's really the point of our world.
Having said that, and let me just set it up even to a higher level. Think of the great moments you've had on film. Where does this sit?
Certainly, I don't know where it'll add up, but certainly from experience, it was why I wanted to do what we do here. It's
why you want to act.
Yeah, and you don't get them. They're few and far between, but you keep chasing these moments.
Moments brought together by the nature of the scene, moments by the fact that you're across from an actor that you would have enormous admiration for.
Directing, a director lets us go at it, and it takes we are feeding off of each other, and that's the best of scenarios.
It's a great scene. Roll tape. Here it is.
Father.
But even enemies can show respect.
But even enemies can show respect.
Yeah, that was the line that hooked me. Yeah.
What do you get from working with Peter O'Toole?
I was just going to say, I love him. It just takes me right back.
Just sitting here watching it
again.
Yeah,
just to have had that moment. But Peter O'Toole himself, beyond the legend, he's a true force. He's a force of nature. He comes from a different school that I don't understand. He's got this eloquence, and he's this gift of storytelling, and
he's just a laugh to be around. And he'll put you under the table, I'll tell you that.
Put you under the table?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's, I mean, I think he's operating.
I know, because you look at a guy, and just he took some of his stomach
he's
out.
got like a third of his stomach left and maybe a quarter of his liver.
But
I
he'll
don't know
keep
what
you
he's
up
doing.
late and put you under the table.
He'll put you under. Yeah.
Let me take you back to Thelma and Louise.
Mm-hmm.
You said that was one of the roles you chunked.
No, I chunked that scene.
That scene,
particular
not
you
the role.
showed. Yeah.
Just, well, that was a great scene. I mean, that was the scene that grabbed everybody.
It was a well-written scene. And I didn't elevate the scene at all. It was really well written on page. And I just kind of flatlined it.
What did it do for you, that movie?
Well, it opened the doors for me. And half this business is the lotto. There's a lot of talented people out there. And because of that, I've been given the opportunity to grow and, hone the craft, so to speak. But Ridley Scott, giving me that shot with Gina, opened the door, let me in the game, put me in the ring.
Did that start the fame game too?
I guess to some degree. Yeah, to some degree, but you still gotta punch at it.
Then Redford came along.
Uh-huh.
And said, "Can you fly fish, son?"
Not really, actually.
What did he say?
A friend of mine, Dermot Mulroney, we loved the script.
Yeah.
So we went out and made a tape of doing some of the scenes. We had a friend of ours shoot it and sent it to him to get in the door.
First you had to learn how to fly fish.
Yeah, well that's one of the perks of what we do. We get to pick up something usually on every film. And what I have learned is you can learn anything. Some of it's going to take a little longer than the others, but we have the ability to learn anything.
You're interesting about this whole fame business, though. I mean, it comes about in part because of craft and skill and experience. It also comes about because it's the nature of the business you're in. It also comes about because of DNA, the way one looks, all of that.
Right.
Do you shy away from it? Do you accept it and say it's part of what I am and what I do, and so therefore I'll keep my pride? How do you handle that?
I used to wrestle with it a lot more than I do now. I accept it pretty much for what it is, and it just became much easier when I gave up on wanting understanding.
Yeah.
When I wanting justice in a way.
What do you mean by that?
Just wanting the record to be right, set the record straight.
And so at some point you come to the place where they're going to take the pictures and they're going to write pretty much stories that they want to write.
Right, and
I can't go around correcting
it all comes
the world.
out in the wash, as we say back home.
It's a kind of game.
Yeah, it's a definite game, no question. Clooney does it best. He's the best I've seen.
Why is that?
He just has, one, he knows how to enjoy it more than anyone else, and he knows how to play with it. And his quick wit, he's ahead of the game.
Seven did what for you?
Seven, well, it hooked me up with David Fincher, who's, I love the guy. He's become a great friend, and I love what he does, and it kind of took me down another road. I think that started with California. California was the first time I tried to do some kind of character, something away from where it was heading. I tried to take a right turn. And Seven had this feeling, this color of the 70s films that I loved, what Fincher was after, and yet it was something new. And I don't know, Fincher could be Orson Welles as far as I'm concerned.
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, and bright and very
And you
bright.
and Morgan, to work with Morgan.
Uh-huh. Oh, great experience.
Fight Club.
Fight Club again, David Fincher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Edward Norton, I've also become good friends with since.
Some have said that that Fight Club showed a part of you that was part of you.
I don't know. I don't know. We were having a laugh. At that phase, I was really trying to, we start out with acting 101. We fill in the scene breakdown. What does your character want? At that point, I was getting too caught up in that, and I was trying to throw all that out the window. And it was an experiment for me to see just what happens on the day. What do you whip out on the day? And so, because of that, maybe it is a little more. I'm not quite sure. I sure appreciate a little irreverence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then at some point, Ocean's 11, and I may be leaving something out. Ocean's 11.
Clooney and Company.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're under.
None of these. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna throw in Soderbergh because he
and George are partners.
He and George are partners, and he's one of our great directors, contemporary directors as well. So, it's really a storyteller's medium, and we're a small component of it. It's really
Acting
up to
is
the
a small
storytellers.
component of it.
Yeah, it really is. By the time you meld it with the editing.
Does that make you want to direct at some point?
No.
Not at all.
No,
You're
not at
so
all.
firm and sharp about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a daunting task, and two, I think there's so many good people doing it right now that I'm not needed.
Yeah.
If I could
But,
be,
and
if I could have such an ego.
And my sense is that, I mean, you're enjoying acting.
I'm enjoying it.
And you're not, and you don't know where you can take it. But as you quote Frank Gehry, your friend and mine, if you know where the journey is going, then you don't want to take it.
Yeah.
Something like, what did he say?
Yeah, if you know where it's going, and then
If you know where it's going to end, you don't want to take it, or something like that.
It's not worth exploring. So yeah, to some extent. And if I was going to take on some kind of job as commander-in-chief, as you must be, it would probably be more in a building aspect or something like that. I would enjoy much more.
Tell me about you and architecture.
I don't know what it is. Well, I do. I know a little bit what it is. I've always jonesed on it. I've always been a bit of a junkie for it, and it's one of the few art forms that you can be inside, that you can experience it by being smaller than it. And I have a strict belief that if architecture has the ability to lift your soul, that we are susceptible to our surroundings. I think a prison cell would be the opposite, and that there are these people now who are leading us to the future, and I'll tell you the misperception of architecture is that it's all aesthetics, and it's really not aesthetics. When you sit with these guys, these masters like Gehry and Hadid and Koolhaas, sure.
All of them have sat at this table.
Yeah, and I've watched. There's the science is first, the study, the study of how people will move through the space, how they'll want to use it, how they the weather, the climate, how we can harness air through, how can we better people's lives, and that is the science. And that's where architecture starts.
And finding, as Frank did with titanium, at
whole new
Bilbao,
vernacular.
the whole notion of what you can, and I think you have shown some real interest in this, according to what I've read with Frank. I mean, if you go to his place in Los Angeles,
it's an experiment.
It's an experiment, and you can see how
an open-ended experiment,
and the impact of computer technology, especially to him, with his creativity. Just opened up a whole new, I mean, he couldn't have done what he did at Bilbao. He couldn't have done what he did at Disney without the impact of the technology that now makes his ability to see how it's possible.
These are pioneers. He blew the lid off the box, literally. And yes, his house is one big jam session, isn't it? You can just see him trying this out in this corner and trying that out in this corner. But
and what's great about him is this is a guy in his 70s.
Yeah.
To talk to him, his enthusiasm for the work and for the ideas
and for others'
pushing
work.
And for others' work too.
And the future, where we can go. They show us the future. They show us how we can better our lives, how we can live. That's why Disney Hall was so important for L.A.
And the achievement of the sound quality is just stunning.
Right. Immediately became an iconic symbol. And yet now I think there's 13 acres around where it's already been hijacked by developers.
But how do you take this fascination? We'll come back to movies in a moment. This fascination with it, in terms of what you do. I mean, because I saw one story with some terrific pictures, and what it showed to me was an aesthetic. It did show an aesthetic, but it also showed some real sense of feeling about material, about stone, and about wood, and about other materials?
Yes, everyone's kind of got their moniker or their vernacular, and I'm certainly not throwing myself in the lot with these people we've mentioned, but I guess I'm always looking for a harmony of materials. I come from more of a Bauhaus understanding, which was all about materials. Let the grain and the wood be the decoration. You don't have to frill it up. There's beauty here in nature, and to harness that and show that. And so, me myself, I'm always kind of looking for harmony, and then I always seem to be looking for a way out. I always got exits.
But when you exit, meaning what? Exits
meaning
to
freedom. I don't.
Yeah, me either.
Right.
I
want the walls to go away.
And the connection to outside as well.
And that's right. In fact,
and the use of light and all of that.
All of it. It's all about light, and how the light bounces around the place. And,
I mean, have you ever thought that? I mean, do you look at acting and say, "This is what I was born to do. This is what I should be doing," for a whole combination of circumstances?
No, not at all. In fact, I get a little frustrated because I think there's so many things to do.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, there's so much to do.
But where do you think you are in terms of some sense of enthusiasm for it?
For acting?
Acting, yeah.
For acting? I got a new Jones for it. The 2 years, you need to go away from it, or I needed to go away from it to fill up again. And I got a Jones for it again here with Troy.
How do you think? How did that happen?
Because
you're kicking into another zone too.
I need to incubate. I need to sit for a bit, and ideas start coming, things start forming, and I find direction, and that's always the most exciting time to me. Like direction, by that I mean a line to follow, and that's how I equate it with any of the arts. When you find a line, you find something that you start following that line because it means something to you. You don't know where it's going, and that's certainly how I equate it to acting as well, as trying to find something in the characters. But I am wholeheartedly interested in the future, just where it's going, what we can do.
The impact of technology and where we're going, and where science going.
And yes, and certainly with alternative energies, we're way behind. We're way behind. Sweden's kicking our ass.
There's a story today. Let's look at this. This is today's New York Times. U.S. is losing its dominance in the sciences.
Well, there
the
it
United
is
States
right
has
there.
started to lose its worldwide dominance in critical areas of science and innovation, according to federal and private experts who point to strong evidence like prizes awarded to Americans and the number of papers in major professional journals. Foreign advances in basic science offer rival even exceed.
That's going to kick us in the ass.
It really is. I mean,
that attitude right
I tell
there.
you, people like Andy Grove and Bill Gates, have been preaching this for
and it's
a couple of years.
Little Sweden is kicking our ass, and the new technologies are so exciting, so exciting. Vehicles powered by magnetic pull, and on it goes, on it goes, and we're not investing in it. We're not pushing that, and we should be. I think we got a responsibility as a superpower. We got a responsibility to teach as well.
Yeah. You don't talk much about politics.
No, I don't. It's not my. I'm very prone to step into shit. So, I don't pretend to have all the information, but I do pay attention.
Yeah, but here's something. I mean, I don't want to. I say this not at the risk of embarrassing or sounding
That's
like
all
I'm patronizing you. There was some sense that what comes across, and it comes across especially here in this piece. This is a piece. I don't know if you've read it or whether you like it or not.
No, I haven't.
It's a
even
very
seen
good
it yet.
piece. It's at Vanity Fair, which is coming out, and it's by Leslie Bennett, and she captures in print an extraordinary sense of a reflective and interesting mind at work. I mean, all you got to do is read it and make your own judgment about it. In terms of someone who's really on a journey and is enjoying it, yet at the same time understands with a kind of sharp eye of realism about the nature of the game.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know where that goes, what I think. But part of it is this notion too that is there any part of you, because what comes across is an intelligent, very bright, curious mind reflecting our conversation. Is there any part of you that sort of got characterized or stereotyped or whatever because of looks and acting, so that people had no real sense, and did that frustrate you?
Well, I'm also more in command of my exploration as I get older. I really appreciate getting older, so far anyways.
Yeah, so I do
I'll take wisdom over youth any days.
Really?
But absolutely. But Also, I like watching the new younger generations come in.
Yeah.
You see exactly where they're heading.
You mean the 21-year-olds?
Yeah, sure. And try to tell them when they listen or they don't.
Yeah.
But
did people try to tell you and you listened, or did?
I probably didn't. I don't know if anyone did. But yeah, to some degree. I mean, not given. I'm sure if half of it was projections on me for the way I looked, and also, and half of it was me just from not really speaking up. You know, I was much more internalized, much more inside.
Simply because that was the nature of your
it's
temperament, or it was just where you were in your own journey?
A little of both. I think it's a part of my upbringing. We said a lot with our silences, and also I always wanted to learn the area before I step in and speak up.
How are you influenced? I mean, how do you factor in this sort of rather what appears to me a remarkable marriage and peace?
Same thing. We always called it an exploration as well. And
the marriage itself.
The marriage itself. And Jen and I have been where we've succeeded most at getting everything on the table. That's been our law at home. It's been about our only law. Everything's got to end up on the table. It may take us a little while to get there. And there's great freedom that comes from that. And we've become better friends because of it.
Just put it on the table.
Yeah, it's got to get on the table, even if, no matter how uncomfortable it is.
Yeah.
It's got to end up on the table.
It's so true about everything, isn't it? I mean, it is so basic and simple and fundamental.
That's right. And
about living, about your own analysis of yourself, about everything.
That's right. And it's, I'm telling you, it's freeing. It's freeing in the end. And because we love each other, it can be accepted.
Is it a complementary relationship, or does she share your passions in terms of your own sense of art and architecture and
No,
landscaping?
we're kind of after two different things, and yet, no, I don't think she quite understands what I'm after, and I don't think I quite understand what she's after, but it's interesting to me because I don't.
Yeah. Do you regret at all? I mean, you were a couple of weeks away from a degree in journalism at Missouri when you decided.
Nope. There's a line in Adaptation, the film I love from.
You know who was here?
Who's that?
Kaufman.
Oh, I would. Yeah.
You
love
would
to
what?
meet. I love his writing. I would love to end up in something like
what's
that.
amazing? Sean Penn, and I, as you know, a friend, and did a 60 Minutes profile, said the same thing to me. The best that I know love Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah, he's on to something.
Yeah,
he is
on to something.
He's mixing it up, and again, it's that new voice, that new direction, that new vernacular, and his stuff is painfully, brutally honest. Yeah. I adore him. I'm a huge fan of his, and would love to end up in something with that kind of tone.
Do you seek out, and having those ideas, do you seek someone out like that and say?
Yeah, you do. You throw a few darts at him, and if
oh, you are now, in fact.
Yeah, and here's the calling card. And if it matches up, you know, they'll respond, and if not, it's it's not the right match.
But you sought out Frank Gehry.
Yeah, in a way, yes, I certainly did.
Because you wanted to explore, you wanted to learn, you wanted to
he blew my mind.
Rub up against somebody that was doing interesting things.
I found his stuff I found it sexy. Yeah. And in something that's an inanimate object, it had movement. It was moving. Yeah. It was like music. I can't do it justice. I found it.
In this magazine, Leslie Bennett, again, a terrific piece, I thought. You said, I'm not a big proponent of happiness.
No, I think it's overrated.
Do you really?
Yeah, I really do.
Now, what does that mean?
I'm not talking about a piece, I'm talking about happiness. Because there's such an emphasis on that we got to be happy all the time, and if we're not happy, there's something wrong.
In other words, not to be happy is okay, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. You got to have it. You got to have the other to appreciate any kind of happiness or to understand any kind of happiness. It's overrated.
How much in control of your life have you been? And how much of it has been?
I don't know percentage. I'm probably, I'm probably about 50-50.
Here's why I asked. You take someone like Tom Cruise. You have a sense that he's 100%.
Right.
in control.
That's right.
And a lot of people could look at it and say, he's controlled it very well.
Absolutely, and he's the best I've seen on the business side. He's the best I've seen. Me, it's not my particular interest.
You basically said money and business per se don't interest you.
No, listen, I'll take some money because you know I'm not gonna.
Well, this is good because you take money and get a piece of the action.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But I also want to be. I want to be open to what comes across. I want to be open for the surprises. The best stuff I've ever found has always been surprises.
Me too.
Especially in acting and in life, and so I want to be open for that. And then if it doesn't work out so well, I have enough faith that I'll figure it out.
Who's had the most influence on you?
I still go back to Rourke and Penn, because that's when I really started focusing.
Because of the way they were doing it, and the choices they made,
and there's this,
and the characters they created.
An amazing juxtaposition of toughness and hardness, with also this softness of soul and heart and need. See, that's Achilles
it's
the
too,
most
isn't
difficult, and that's Achilles. Yeah, you can pretty much trace everything back to those two guys for me.
Yeah. Hector and Achilles, or
no, anything I've done.
Back to
Penn or Rourke. Yeah. This one, I actually, going into it, I drew a little from Nicole Kidman from The Hours. I thought she had great internal turmoil.
Yeah.
And also I used Weber from Sacramento Kings. He's got this, he on the court, he's a great warrior on the court, but you also see he's in constant conflict. There's an immense rage there, and there's also a great warrior's heart there. So I actually used him as a starting point, as a springboard. There's a great tone there, and you could probably find it in there.
When you're with guys like Redford, who's directing you, or Norton, who's a colleague, O'Toole, Brian Cox, do you guys talk about acting, and is there time for that, and does it influence you? Do you? I mean, if you're drinking with Peter O'Toole,
not a lot. I think we absorb each other,
yeah.
And then we tell
It's
war
an
stories.
osmosis thing.
Yeah. I see that more. Well, I think we're constantly studying each other in a way, but not in a. Yeah, it would have to be osmosis.
Does the diction side come easy to you?
No, that's not my strong point. And I've done a few of them now where people think that it comes easy to me.
And so how do you make it look easy?
I worked very hard at it. I got to work, and I got to work, and I got to first find the music in it. That I can understand. I got to find the melody. And
you got to hear it.
I got to hear it, and I got to understand. I got to understand the song.
How do you get there?
Repetition, and then I need someone to come in and show me the notes, meaning the sounds, the specific sounds. Certainly when I came out here, my accent was, I still swallow my words, but most of it, I just kind of talk like this. I wouldn't really enunciate much, and just kind of talk like that.
You like the physicality of acting?
Yeah, I do. I feel better there. I can feel it in my body.
Yeah. You're at one with your body.
I don't know. I just can feel, again, the music, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Any passion I mean, you think of The Architect, any passion for you to combine this great avocation you have, which is an interest in the visual and design and architecture and understanding and also the future. Is there a story of a great architect that would...
Well, that's good. That would go back to the Fountainhead.
No, it is. But would you redo that?
Have you
thought about it?
There was actually talk about
it.
The thing, it's so dense and complex. It would have to be a 6-hour movie, or I don't know how you do it under 4 and not really lose what Ayn Rand was after.
But does it interest you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Actually, I believe Oliver Stone's on it right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, as a possibility, but it's...
To make it as a feature film?
Yeah, as a possibility, yes, as a feature film.
You're also doing Mr. and Miss Smith. Is that the title?
Yeah, that's right.
What is that?
That is, I'll be interested to see how this one works, because we're trying to combine genres of an action genre, a romantic comedy, a black comedy, and I'll be curious to see how it works, but it's this great metaphor for marriage. I mean,
the
whole thing is a metaphor.
Here's the metaphor. Here's the message I understand. I mean, it's about two people, two assassins, and they're to kill each other.
Well, it's about a husband and wife who are trying to kill each other, right there, which makes me laugh. And then it actually sparks, they find the relationship again through this passion, and then they got to defend the marriage from the outside influences. So if it works, there's a real fun.
Would you do a movie like that with Jennifer?
We would have to be careful. We actually talked about it on this one. And you know, you look back at history, it's there for us to learn from.
It's Tom and
the
Nicole.
odds. The odds are against couples working together.
It
so
really,
it would
what
have
is
to
it?
be
It is that it's
cherry picked.
Why is it that? Why is it so rarely work?
I don't know. I don't know.
You know, it worked pretty good with Beatty and Benning in Bugsy.
Right, right.
But that was before they were married, I think.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. That's they met there.
Didn't work well for Nicole and Tom, and some thought.
Sometimes
Eyes Wide
it
Open.
does. Sometimes it doesn't. Maybe it's we know too much about the couple already, and it's thrown onto the movie. I don't know why that is, but I just know the odds are against us.
If you weren't doing this, what would you most want to do?
I'd like to build, or just make things. I've kind of reduced it down to this from here on out. I just want to make things.
Just make things.
Yeah, just make things. Whatever that entails, wherever that takes me.
You said another intriguing thing, which I admire a lot. You said, you know, I'd love to have lots of kids.
Yeah, I do. I love this idea of all these different personalities, you know, bouncing off each other, and they got each other to learn from. And I feel like I'm at the time now where I got something to tell them. So,
in other words, you've absorbed your own experience, and so therefore.
Yeah, and I could help them. I could show them around. I could do a good job showing them around.
And here's the kicker. This is again this piece. You'd love for it to be all girls.
Yeah, me myself. I know
because you don't. What? Good.
Well, I'm just going to screw up the guys a little bit, and they're going to be pissed off at me for years, and I'm going to have to go through that. But yeah, and I'm just a sucker for the girls.
It's great to have you here.
It's great being here.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charlie.
Brad Pitt, Troy is the film. It has everything that you could want for an epic film. It's a great story. A terrific performance by him. A great supporting cast, as you saw, Brian Cox and O'Toole, and here's Orlando Bloom, who plays Paris, and
heavyweights,
who plays Hector, and then there's a great conflict between two proud men, Achilles and Hector. It has all the elements of a film. It is summertime coming.
And may I say, directed by Wolfgang Peterson, who was really responsible for keeping this whole juggernaut on track.
I thank you for doing this again. It's great to see you, and we'll do it again.
Great, thanks, Charlie.
Buddy.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Brad Pitt for the hour. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
you